Welcome to the heart of Silicon Valley, the show where we feature the grit and passion of inspirational achievement and other interesting stories. I'm your host, Rachel, and I am here with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Brittany Hampton.
Welcome, and we have a special treat today. I'm so excited. This could not be more synchronistic than to have a best-selling local author in the house right now. Geraldine Salon. Did I say your name correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I have to know right off the bat, is Geraldine a family name?
No, it's my first name.
No, no. I mean, did you get it from, is it like passed down? It's just such a unique, beautiful name. So I'm just curious.
My mom wanted to give me a French name because my dad's French, so she thought Geraldine was a French name, but I'm not sure. I think it's an Irish name or could be a French name too.
Okay. So it could be French-Irish?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
well,
right.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
And you are here with your newest release.
Yes.
Do you mind if I go ahead and grab it?
Sure, definitely.
It is for sale right now, right?
Yeah, that's
Hot
right.
off the press, and
Yeah.
it is called Midlife Crisis Diaries. So
Correct.
tell us, what exactly is your inspiration behind a book like this?
Well, you know, the minute I hit 40, that's a time when you actually feel like, oh my gosh, you know, you're getting older and you feel like what do you want to do? What's out there for you? And I guess everybody's going through that midlife crisis, or it could be a transition, right? So I said, why don't I write something about that, you know? But I want to make it really funny, like a romantic comedy, because I'm sure people can relate to it, right?
Definitely.
So, I said, and then
Right.
the title came to my head, Midlife Crisis Diaries, and I thought it was perfect. So that's when I decided to write the story.
Well, when we were in the green room alone, everybody seemed to pick it up and be like, oh, that's me. That's what I'm in.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about your writing process. I mean, you're so successful. You have what, 12?
8 books.
You have 8 books
Correct.
out?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your writing process and your inspiration for writing.
So I write every day at night when everybody's asleep. I'm an owl. So what really inspires me, I mean, sometimes it can come to me in the form of a character. It could be a place, it could be a theme, it could be a scene or like a topic like midlife crisis or like that. And so it comes to me and I really totally immerse myself in that world and I start writing, and I like to write when everybody's asleep, so I could be oblivious and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have any distractions.
So
and
you have a full-time job then during the day?
I do,
Okay.
yeah. So I can't write during the day, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it takes me like sometimes 3 months to finish the first draft, and then I put it aside, and then I don't look at it at all. And I start taking long walks, and I think of something else, or I take a break, you know, spend time with friends, travel, and then I get back to it after a month, and then I start looking at the bigger picture and start thinking, what can I change, what can I add? And that's what I do before I send it to my editor.
Okay.
Are there
Yeah.
any writing snacks that you eat the most when you write?
No, I don't.
Does ice cream make a better book?
I actually don't eat, or
Makes a
I'm not the
bigger
type
belly.
of person like who likes to listen to music when I'm writing, or has to be this type. It has to be really quiet, you know.
and no snacks, huh?
No snacks.
Wow.
I'm good at that. Maybe chocolates, yeah.
Ooh.
At the-
Yeah.
after everything,
My
but not
kryptonite.
like that's my
Yeah.
weakness, chocolates.
Very
Yeah.
nice. So does your information just kind of flow then out of you? Is
Yeah, it
that
just
how-
comes to me. Like there was one time I was craving for chocolate cupcakes, and all of a
and
sudden
you love
this lady in distress flashed through my mind, and the story began to unfold, and I knew that chocolate was a big factor in this book. So 6 months later, the book came out. It was called Chocolicious, based on that story. So yeah,
That's such a
That's
great
something.
name.
so it just comes to me in some natural form, or nothing extraordinary.
And you're pretty active in the community. What do
I
you
do.
do in the community? What made you want to be so active and give?
Well,
of
that's my
yourself?
way of giving back, right? And it's encouraging other writers. So I used to be the vice president of the Fremont Area Writers Club, which is part of the California Writers Club. And so I would also organize events for, where writers could pitch to editors or to agents, or where they could learn more about the publishing industry. Because what I noticed, like a lot of writers, they don't really have the marketing skills, or you have to remove your writer's hat when you decide to publish or decide to promote. And so that's my way of giving back, because it was also hard for me when I started. I had to really learn the ropes by myself. And you know, as authors, we shouldn't be alone, right? We should be able to help one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
so,
how it is.
as a writer myself, who has lots of unfinished manuscripts, right, sitting in their computer, what advice can you give? I mean, you're so accomplished in getting your it seems like being focused and really diving into a manuscript and then publishing it and getting it out the door. What advice can you give, not only to maybe even writers, but people who want to get their projects out of their head and out into the world?
Well, the first thing I say is if you're aiming for perfection, then it's not going to work, right? Because a lot of writers, they want to get it perfect. They focus on the grammar. They don't think about that first. Write everything. Whatever flows in your head, write it down. Get it out of your head. And then another thing I'd like to think of myself is like an athlete. You have to be disciplined. Like if inspiration doesn't show up, I mean, if inspiration's not there, then you still have to show up. You still have to be there, you know, and then just get it out there. Even if you complete the first draft looks really bad, but then at least you got it out.
Just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. And nobody's going to judge you. That's another thing. In this type of business, you have to show that you're vulnerable. You know, you have to show, because you're showing a piece of yourself, right? You have to be ready for that. And then you have to have thick skin, because I mean, you are gonna get like good reviews and bad reviews, but that's part of the game.
And chocolate.
And chocolate, lots of chocolate. Yeah, exactly.
And you said that your first novel, I read that your first novel is supposed to be adapted into a film.
It was actually optioned, but it never materialized. So those are the other pitfalls that you can encounter, where, you know, sometimes you sign with somebody and they tell you like, okay, we want to make it into a movie, but it doesn't really materialize at times.
But still is a bestseller.
Right, right.
Your first novel out of the gate was a bestseller. So this is amazing. Was that
Thank
luck,
you.
or do you think there's a strategy involved?
There is a strategy, and I think it's also part of working hard. You really have to work hard. I think you also have to be active with the community, be connected with other writers, because you know, most of the time when you're writing, we're alone, right? You're solitary. You're just typing there on your computer, and you need to get out.
A little cuckoo.
You're talking to your imaginary friends, right? So I mean, it's important to network with other people.
Real people, not your characters.
Not your characters. Okay. That builds synergy, right? That builds synergy, and they can help you. And then you also have to do a lot of research, like get to know what's going on with the publishing industry. Everything's changing, you know, like bookstores are closing. I mean, ebooks are selling more than paperbacks, right? So you have to do your I spend at least like 2 hours of research every day just to see what's going on, what's changing. And then, of course, social media. You have to be active in social media and promote yourself. I mean, not just the shameless promotions, but, you know, go out and be able to help people too. Yeah.
Now, what I thought was interesting, I read that your latest project is to promote literacy by building libraries in remote areas of the the third world countries, called A Library for Hope.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's awesome. You have such a big heart.
Thank you.
Have you started this project?
Yeah, I actually just started. I'm actually from the Philippines, so we tied up with the mayor of a certain island where the typhoon actually wiped out that island. I mean, there was a lot of people that died, and also we're actually building a library there. It's done, and I think we're supposed to launch it maybe end of this year or early next year.
It's pretty soon.
Yeah, so I want to do that because that's my way of giving back, right?
How'd you learn to be such a giving person?
I guess it
doesn't come naturally for all of us.
I guess I don't know. I guess it comes naturally. I don't know. For me, I mean, I believe like I feel good when you give more than when you get.
Right.
It feels so good, you know, to give.
So what do you do when you're not writing?
When I'm not writing, well, I have a day job. I work in Stanford University. I manage events.
Oh, okay.
And other than that, I mean,
for fun,
I love to travel.
Ooh, where do you like to go?
I usually go to the Philippines or visit my family. But
nice.
Last month I was in Canada, and so I like to travel, go to the beach, watch movies,
eat good food.
Read.
Can you tell I like food?
I get to catch up on my reading also, because as writers we have to read a lot too. So that's another thing. It's good to immerse yourself in different genres, not just the genres that you write. So that way you can really see how other people write, like their style, their voice. You know, that way you can also identify with your own voice, right?
So if you weren't a writer, what would you be doing now? What would your career be if you weren't a writer?
I think it would be something creative too, because I mean, I'm really interested in like maybe advertising or film or something to that matter. Yeah, or even a lawyer. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer.
How about a
or
salsa
detective.
dancer?
Oh, that could be. I don't mind.
Or maybe a psychic.
Pole dancer, maybe
Yeah,
more of a pole.
psychic.
Because we were talking about that in the green room.
Yeah, maybe a psychic.
I think that you have
Have
that in
intuitive,
you.
maybe.
Yeah,
Another
absolutely.
life, another career. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I know earlier too, you had mentioned about exercise, and as with being a writer, I know that it can be real challenging to know, like, to be able to get exercise in, basically, right? Because you're sitting at a desk writing. So what kind of exercise do you do?
I like to walk.
Okay,
I walk
great.
a lot, yeah, because
that's a
that's when I
good source
can.
of
That's when I can think too. Especially like if you walk like not. I don't want to walk in the treadmill. I walk like it where there's
Okay,
nature.
outside
Outside where there's nature, because that's where you get your creative juices flowing.
Right.
And where you think of your characters.
When you, yeah, when they're
Right.
talking, especially when it's
Especially
quiet.
your male. Do you have any male sexy characters
course, you have
that
to
you
make them
walk with,
sexy,
like down the beach
provocative, right?
with, right? Is this where you come up with them?
Of course, you have to. You don't have all those provocative male
Right,
characters,
right.
right?
You probably never have to go on a real date. do you?
I know, right?
Every day, every book is a different
book is a
person,
date.
right?
Get your own characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides being a best-selling author, right? You also teach writing workshops.
Correct. Yes.
Correct. And are there any other avenues where you like to help people, like with coaching or anything?
Well, I'm
like
thinking of that. That's one thing I'm thinking, like maybe coaching or doing one-on-one sessions or trying to do. I mean, I also get invited to speak at conventions and events, so that's what I do also. So I'm open to anything, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how
even-
would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted you to, host an event or do something like that?
They can go to my website, www.geraldinesola.com.
Okay.
Here we are done.
It just has like a dance to it.
I know. I like the little melody.
I can't be serious all the time.
Right, that's right.
You're like a
That's right.
fun writer. You're a
We
fun
have
author.
to be. We have to. I can't be
That's
serious,
right,
right? Or
right.
else.
No. Otherwise,
Right.
your books would probably have a much different plot
Yeah,
and
definitely.
storyline on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I can't wait to read this one
Oh, thank
because I
you.
already flipped through it and it was like it seemed really provocative and interesting. I mean,
Very
it already had
relatable.
some keywords on the back there where I was like, yeah,
Right?
I'll be walking on the beach, reading that
Oh,
one.
yeah, it could be a beach read, because it's light.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone? And let them know?
Just wanted to say thank you for being here, for
Oh,
inviting
yeah, of
me. I had a
course.
great
Thank you
time.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Yeah.
Hope to see
Wanna
you
get to
guys
talk to
again.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, what's your next project?
Well, I'm writing book 2 for this one.
Oh,
yeah.
there's a
It's a
book.
sequel.
There's going to be a sequel.
Oh,
for this one,
nice.
yeah.
That's good to
After
know.
the midlife crisis?
It's going to be the same title, Midlife Crisis Diaries, but part 2.
Oh,
That's
can
really
you
good
give
to
us
know.
any kind of like
Hints or
I think it's better that you read it first,
okay,
right?
Okay, well,
yeah. Makes
all right.
sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll read the first
I guess
one.
we have to be patient and read it.
It looks like, by the way, she's pushing him off the altar, but that's okay. We'll cover that.
She's
Okay.
actually pulling him.
Okay.
Well,
we
come back
want
here.
We really want to thank you for visiting with us
you
today,
so
and you are
much.
such an inspiration, not only to the
thank
Silicon
you,
Valley,
thank you.
but to writers and viewers everywhere. And
Thank
just
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much for participating.
Oh, it's an
And-
honor. It's my
Yes,
pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I'm Rachel, your host.
And I'm Brittany Hampton.
Yes, and well, come on back for the next episode of Heart of Silicon Valley.
Hi, and welcome to the Heart of Silicon Valley. I'm Velma. We have our other host here, Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Velma.
And yeah, we've got our gracious guest. We have Jazz Teagan, the designer for the Burning Man 2015, the Temple of Promise, right?
That's right. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let's get to the design and how you came about, with the Temple of Promise and, the design. How did that come about?
Well, I had been, was my fourth burn, my fourth year going to Burning Man, and my first art project. And I had never really actually thought about, had an ambition to do art on the playa. But 2 years ago, I came back from a fantastic burn, really excited, and was jonesing for the experience. So I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I'm going to their website a lot. And at one point, they posted that art grant honoraria applications were coming due. And I was terrifically naive, so that sounded like free money to me. I was like, oh wow, that's a grant, an art grant sounds really cool. But I didn't have an idea. But it also said we select the temple at the same time as all of the other honoraria. And that was the first time I learned that the temple was an open selection process and that it was competitive. I still had never thought about doing it, but I thought to myself, well, what would I do? And the question I posed was, if you're at Burning Man, however you got there, you're on a journey. No one's on the playa just coincidentally. I mean, maybe serendipitously, but you're on some kind of journey. So how do you make a temple? How do you design the temple so that it extends that journey in a meaningful way?
Right.
And almost at once, in like 15 seconds, I had an image of how I would do that, and it's offer a transformative experience by offering a structure that undergoes a transformation as you move through it. So it goes from really large to really small, and immense to human scale. And the key there is it goes from something awesome to something very relatable, very human scale when you come out at the end of it into the grove. And that it takes longer to tell the story than it did to have a pretty clear idea of what it would look like.
Yeah.
And I fell down a rabbit hole from there. So within 15 minutes, I had a small wax model, and then 2 weeks later, a first presentation model, submitted it, and it was rejected because I had a crew of exactly one, and I was tremendously naive. I didn't know what I was doing. But I got fantastic feedback and encouragement from some really important people at the org. I mean, important to me personally, like just wonderfully generous, wonderfully. It's an incredible organization, and the people there treated me very well in rejecting me. So I couldn't let it go, and I put together a crew for the next year, submitted it again, and it was very well received. We were fortunate, and then we undertook a many months long journey. For me, start to finish, it was about 2 years.
Wow.
And absolutely an incredible experience, and the biggest thing I've ever done. So I was very fortunate to have the opportunity.
Well, the magnitude of it, I was reading, like it was like, can you imagine 40 feet?
70.
70?
70 in the end.
70 in the end, like, and then.
And the first building I've ever built, so.
Wow.
So
if you go to architecture school,
you have a background in architecture?
I do not, thank goodness. Architecture is fascinating, but you talk to architects and they're like, I loved architecture school and it was fantastic and the people there are really incredible, and gosh, I wish I got to do architecture, because most architects really don't, and they're like, we have to try and sneak it into some of the basically building little boxes that we're making. So I've gotten to do what I think most architects never do, which was build something unconventional and actually see it
So you got
completion.
Thrown right into the fire and figure it out.
And I don't think I'd be able to do that if I was. But I mean, I love architecture, but the opportunities to actually practice it aren't as numerous as the number of people who are working architects. I came to it with a design background, but as opposed to just purely artistic. So that's definitely reflected in the nature of the design, the piece. It's a real departure for temples and the temple tradition, but this is one of the things that's fantastic about the Burning Man organization, is they're willing to take a risk and go on those kinds of departures.
Yeah, it's innovate, right?
Yeah, outside and kind of outsider art and making it, like you said, a journey and transformation. So it was a transformation for you, and what do you think that you got from that experience as a person and growing?
Well, over 2 years, that it's a long conversation to articulate everything I got out of it. It was in terms of just learning to do art and build the things you have to learn in order to accomplish a project like this. They're tremendous. So it's my MBA, it's my master's, it's my PhD in project management, in doing large things, working with a crew, leadership, budgeting, financing, fundraising, all sorts of things. But personally, really, and this was true from the very beginning, it was an opportunity to bring a gift to a community that's very important to me. And the gift economy, as they call it, or gifting at Burning Man is a privilege, and it's and to be able for that to be the gift that I brought, and to be able to dedicate that my time to that exclusively, and was absolutely incredible. And then to be working with other people who are likewise dedicated to this endeavor. I suppose we should actually explain to anyone who doesn't know. The temple tradition was started in 2000 by David Best, and he brought a small temple out, dedicated it to suicides, and the tradition that has and it now serves, there's been a temple every year since, and it now serves as the spiritual center of this city. I mean, Burning Man is usually described by what it isn't really, or by exclusion, but what it is a city that exists for a week, and it has all the civic needs of a regular city, and transportation and safety, and ultimately also a spiritual center. And the tradition that has emerged around that is really powerful, and unlike other traditions that you'll find elsewhere, in that it's the community that makes this temple what it is. People write on the walls. Things that would be graffiti other places really are what make this temple special. And they write messages, either discussing their struggle with addiction or abuse or something they've been through, or whatever they're going, whatever is challenging them in their life. Or they're writing to someone they've lost, either through a breakup or a divorce or through death. So their writing is often to
bring pictures,
like expression,
pictures, memorials, altars, and remembrances. And when you're addressing the dead as often as the living, even though you're doing it in public, it's anonymous, and that dynamic creates something incredibly candid. And then you see it in mass because 70,000 people do it, and it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, when you're there, you can just feel like the energy. And some people are very quiet, and it's mostly, there's not a whole lot of music and going on, or any like drumming or anything like that. It's just mainly just kind of meditative.
What you find is this is a space that doesn't prescribe how it should be used. So the community takes from it what they need, and they make of it what they need.
Just be, right?
Yeah.
So from that, what are your current aspirations or projects, since you've learned so much? And we were talking earlier about, other things that you want to do.
Well, that's definitely the case. We put together an organization, the Dreamers Guild, to serve as the vehicle for building this temple. And we learned so much, it would be a shame to see that go to waste. Right. So we're trying to keep that organization alive. We want to do more large art on the playa at Burning Man, for sure. But we'd also like to carry that out into the real world with large art that more than anything, promotes radical optimism and builds communities through the dynamic and the phenomenon of creating something together. I would really love to to do that with young people, which we haven't really seen any of these Burning Man organizations sort of parlay it in that direction and design projects that can be part of a curriculum and then teach kids, leadership, followership, teamwork, project management, project planning, budgeting, fundraising, a lot of things that people don't think you're supposed to learn until college or the real world, but actually when you're young, it's the very best time to learn this. You have the greatest facility to really take the lessons and make them instinctual ultimately. And we're not trying to inspire kids because kids are already inspired. Just get out of their way and then give them a tool and facilitate that, and then the inspiration takes care of itself. But I can imagine projects like a friend of mine had built 30-foot Tesla coils on the playa. I could see this being done in a classroom, and you'd have to do real science to actually make them work. And then when you're done, you put them next to the football field. And during games, when someone scores a touchdown, you spark them off. And that school will have kids who go on to have great academic careers, and they'll stop bringing foam fingers, those giant foam fingers, and instead they'll start bringing fluorescent light bulbs, because if you're sparking those things off, there's enough energy in the air that if you're just holding the light bulb, it will fluoresce and glow, and that would look really cool in a high school. You could have kids building art cars, and you start maybe in the second semester, and in the first semester you tell them, but first you're going to design an art bike, and we're going to teach you how to weld and use CNC tube benders, and you can make it all kinds of fanciful. And at the end of the semester, you're going to have your own bike that you made, and that kid's going to show up to class. You could have kids doing Da Vinci flying machines, models first, and then full-size things. And if you hang that in the atrium of the high school that they made it, and a kid comes in every day for 4 years, looks up and sees that thing they made, that's I think transformative and profound as far as the providing an artistic and science, STEAM and STEM experience that really will make a difference. And you take them from Da Vinci flying machines and then have them do something like, I don't know, customize and tweak a drone, or have them design rovers for planetary exploration and habitats for Mars, and create curricula around that. But the main thing is they're group projects, and they have the same
together.
And they have the same dynamics that we experienced and we learned with the Dreamers Guild building this temple. It is something that it's unlike anything else I've ever been a part of, and it's incredible. And I am perhaps at least as proud of creating a space for the rest of my crew to be able to be involved and have the experiences that they've had as the outcome that we put on the playa itself, which I think was pretty good.
So you have a gift for bringing people together and educating. So
I hope so.
Yes, you do.
That's your kind of passion, is education.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very much.
We can see that from how you pretty much explained and just brought everything, all of your experiences to life in a few minutes. It's very beautiful. So thank you for being here as our guest, and hopefully we'll see more, and would love to see your project come alive, because
It's very kind of you to have me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So once again, thank you. You've been watching The Heart of Silicon Valley. I'm Vilma and Brian. And again, thank you to Jazz Teagan.
Thank you, Jazz.